Back in this yard pulling honey today. Just got done with the first hive. The skateboards seem to be working pretty well. This is 4 gallons that they've had now. And they're on the foundation, working that, so that's good. That's what we need. Probably 1 to 2 more feedings at 2 gallons and that hive will be just about ready for winter. You can't have a gap like this underneath the stack of supers on the trailer. I'll have robbing for sure. So, just put a bee escape I just took off a hive underneath that. They work really well for that. I'll add one more little note to this. There are pros and cons of steel deck versus wood deck. With wood deck, bees can come through the cracks. You also get rocks and stuff that stick in there. So you can get robbing underneath, but wood tends to slide around less. Things slide less easily on wood than they do on steel. But with a steel deck that's solid, you don't have to worry about robbing from underneath. That's a pretty big plus. So this hive, the bees almost completely cleared out of the supers. This one's got way too many bees up here. And that first thing that makes me think is, oh, there must be brood in this super. So I got to check for that. So I checked every one of these when I put the escapes on to make sure they were queen right, and I pulled a frame of brood up into the 3rd box as a bait frame. I know all the queens were below except on this one up here, but maybe I moved a queen down less than a month ago or something. So just check this one, and they don't have any brood in these supers. They just didn't move through the escape as well. Don't know why. Some it works real well, some it works less well. So I'll just blow these out and move on. Kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy here. This is the only stack that I didn't put an escape board underneath. And it just happens to be one with a big crack. So the bees started robbing it out from underneath. And it's on the far side of the trailer. So I didn't really pay too much attention. I thought it was just Snoopy bees, but no. They were robbing it out. Get started quick and it's hard to stop it. Once it gets going, it's important to keep those stacks sealed up really, really well this time of year. I'm gonna try to get the rest of this yard done, but I really don't like working them when they're like this. Early mornings are better to keep them from robbing. But I had chores to do this morning. I had to get syrup made and all kinds of stuff, so I didn't get as early a start as I would like. Let's just pull the supers off this one. Very lightweight hive, a lot of bees in there, a lot of mouths to feed. A lot of bees to do work though. They can draw foundations for me on sugar syrup, so I'm gonna put them back to work. It's efficient because I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm getting some production drawing comb during the dearth when they can't do it on the natural stuff. And I'm putting weight on bees that need to have weight put on them. The robbing actually got bad enough that I took a lunch break. I packed up, blew bees off the stacks as I was pulling out the gate, and then went and offloaded those at my honey house, ate lunch, did some more chores, bottled a little bit of honey, and now I'm back to pick the rest of these up. Keeping them really tight and closed up. I've got just a few sniffers, but nothing like it was before. So robbing wasn't that bad, but it kind of defeats the purpose for me of using bee escapes if I'm going to have a chaotic bee yard. If I wanted a chaotic bee yard, I'd use fume boards and bee blowers. One of the big advantages of escape boards is a calm bee yard when you're pulling honey. You can really control that robbing pressure. This is much better. I enjoy this. Gave this yard a pretty good haircut. They did okay this year, not great, but it could have been worse. It could always be better, but it could be worse too. So I'm thankful for what we got. A lot of bees in here. They're hot, especially now that they've got less space, and I have removed their offsets because we're in robbing season. So we're going to start seeing a lot of bearding, especially on these big ones. But they can handle it. So this yard made some splits. They made some honey. Pulling that off now, and they're making some comb on sugar syrup. They're getting heavy. They've now had 2 rounds of OAV. I've not seen any drops that look concerning. In fact, I was out here yesterday and gave them another round of OAV. Let's see what they look like. Got some beetles, otherwise pretty clean. I'm not seeing any mites in there. So this yard now is pretty lightweight. They are probably going to need another 4 gallons apiece. And at the rate they're taking it, they took 4 gallons. It's completely gone in 4 days. I probably need to be back in about another 4 days. That'll put me into next week. Feed them again. And then one more after that, I think, is going to get them in pretty decent shape. They're hungry right now. So I've got 1 yard in the honey house. I'll let that dry down just a day or two. That honey's pretty dry already. Might try to extract it Sunday afternoon. I'm going to try to take the kids on a kayak float trip tomorrow. The river is finally right, and we've got a day window where I can do it. I'll note I've got a whole house dehumidifier here running continuously. It's set on 30%. Air conditioner is set on 86. It won't hold 86. It'll be mid 80s to 90, 92 maybe. And I've got fans on each one of these stacks. So that dries honey out real quick if it's uncapped. If it's got cappings, it won't move the moisture too much. And I have gone to cross stacking these in the honey house, and I leave the lights on in this end. There's 2 concerns here. Well, 3 concerns. Drying honey is 1, 2 is wax moth, and 3 is hive beetles. High airflow, low humidity, which I've got in here, keeps hive beetle eggs. It will kill hive beetle eggs and larvae. So I'll find adults, but I will not find young when I've got a lot of dry air moving through these stacks. Leaving the lights on in this end and cross stacking dramatically reduces wax moth. It's strange, but the low humidity, high airflow doesn't hurt wax moth larvae, but it will kill hive beetle larvae and eggs. So lights on, cross stack for wax moth, and then very dry air and high airflow and warmth. That keeps the hive beetles at bay and also dries my honey supers out. I've experimented with drying honey in here for several years, and I can take stuff that's 21% and have it down to 17 or even 16 within about 4 days. So I've got to be careful not to over dry it. It's honey at 16% is hard to extract. I think 17% is an all-around great number to shoot for. 17 and a half. We're going to play burn the beetle again. This hive, when I pulled the closure out of the bottom board yesterday, it had more beetles than any I've seen this year. So I'm back in this yard today to check mite drop after OAV, so we'll see what they look like. That's not nearly as bad as it was yesterday. All right, now we can really check some for mites. The little ones probably don't matter too much. I think that's an orange pin. It could be faded red, but I think it's orange. I used to use orange pins to denote, goodness, that's a lot of beetles. I wasn't expecting that. This yard's definitely got them. I may be able to check mites at some point. Not a ton of mites there. See, almost none on that one. There's a few on this one. That's not a level I'm concerned with, especially when you're seeing hives just packed with bees. Not bad. When you see the bees are down here, sometimes they do that in hot weather, but sometimes the screen on the bottom board can be loose, and I don't trust the readings I get on those because the bees sometimes will just clean them off. All right, looks pretty good. Same old, same old. Checking mite levels. Shot this yard yesterday. I really have grown to dislike these Freeman bottom boards. I like this style a lot better for a variety of reasons. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just, you know, there's some, but not a lot. This hive is getting a red pin. That is too many. And I believe this is a queen I brought in from outside my operation. I have not had great luck bringing in bees from outside my operation unless it was specifically bringing in via high VSH stock. So we'll give them a red pen.
Daddy, look. Stairs and ladders.
We're taking a float trip on the duck today. I get the boat that's big enough to put the kids in, get to paddle them around. We've already done some beach combing. Let's see. That's my find for the day. It's a piece of an old stoneware jug. No telling how old that is. 100 to 150 years. Yeah, my son Reed found another piece of stoneware. Let me see. Don't know if that's from the same jug or not, but it's probably the bottom part. Neat stuff.